Hey everyone, welcome back to session two in our series of workshops. Please welcome Paige Bailey, who's head of developer relations at Google DeepMind. She'll be running you through some of Google's latest models, of which there have been a lot recently, so it should be exciting to hear her speak about this. Paige, I'll hand over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And if folks have met me before, you know that I am not a super fan of slides. So ideally, there will be a minimal time spent on slides and maximum time spent on questions and also demos. So you can actually get a taste of some of these things that the models can do. And thank you so much for participating in this generative media hackathon. I think there's a lot to be built, and really looking forward to seeing all of the projects that y'all create. So just wanted to start with DeepMind's mission, which is to build AI responsibly to benefit humanity. Hopefully, everyone can see my slides. If not, please flag, so that we can pause and then reshare. But DeepMind's mission is to build AI responsibly to benefit humanity. This is one of the things. Awesome. This is one of the things that I am most proud to work on. I think there's a lot of or there can be a lot of anxiety about AI, some of its impacts, but I think that there's also so much potential, especially when considering things like AlphaFold, the ways in which AI can benefit health and education, and then also the science discovery. And it's really beautiful to kind of hold light whenever we can, and to make sure that we consider the shade, but perhaps don't sit in it all the time. So it makes me very excited to know that DeepMind is uniquely, squarely focused on that mission. I also think that Google has been a little bit busy over the course of the last while, especially over the last 6 to 9 months. We've been releasing many, many different models, both frontier models as well as open models. If you haven't had a chance to experiment with our Gemma 4 model family, I strongly recommend it. They're very powerful open models in a variety of sizes, but specifically designed to work really well for on device use cases. So things like mobile devices embedded in WebAssembly, as well as single GPU use cases. So you can take one of these Gemma models, use them on a single GPU, or even something like a Jetson Nano for quantized checkpoints, and do pretty amazing work. But in addition to these open models and frontier models, we've also been experimenting quite a bit with our generative model family. And if I zoom over to this next slide, one of the most miraculous things about Gemini is that it's able to take in many different modalities as input. So things like video and audio and images and text and code. But the same model is also able to output many different modalities. So instead of just outputting text or outputting code or function calls, you can also output images, you can edit images, you can output images and text interleaved, you can output video, and now with Gemini Omni Flash, you can even edit videos with natural language, which is pretty cool. Our generative media models have a similarly stacked timeline, if you can see here, both for GenMedia models as well as audio. We recently also introduced a speech to speech translation implementation, and Omni was released, or at least announced, at I/O this year in May. But we released it as part of the API in around June 30th. So it's still pretty much hot off the presses, less than a month old. And Nano Banana 2 Lite and Gemini Omni Flash are available for you to use also within the fall platform, which hopefully y'all have already been experimenting with, trying things out. For the demos today, I'll show you sort of use cases and examples in the places where I have unlimited credits. If the fall team gives me unlimited credits, I would happily swap to showing demos on that platform. But you should be able to do everything that I show you today within fall, with also the ability to incorporate things like workflows and a whole bunch of additional a whole bunch of additional insights. But again, the one of the cool things about OmniFlash and about Nano Banana Lite is it allows you to do things like natural language edits on images and video. And for Nano Banana 2 Lite, that translates to being able to kind of do very, very inexpensive edits very naturally to images. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and do a new share of my window and show you a little bit of what you can do with Nano Banana 2 Lite. Um, so this is Nano Banana 2 Lite within AI Studio. If you've never used AI Studio before, you can access it at ai.dev or ai.studio or aistudio.google.com. You can select different models here off to the right. So you can see that I've selected Nano Banana 2 Lite, but you can also kind of click images, click video, and see the different models that you have access to. I'm going to go ahead and select this again and take a look at some of the output formats that are available. You can see images and text, images only, and then also some things like aspect ratios, resolutions, thinking levels that you can invoke. So 1K is the default resolution for Nano Banana 2 Lite. The default thinking level is set to minimal, but you can also kind of experiment with high if you would like the model to spend a few more tokens thinking about what it outputs. And as an example, since I've selected images and text, I can also do fun things like say, create a recipe step by step with images and text interleaved for how I would bake chocolate chip cookies. And hopefully folks can see my screen. I'm going to go ahead and click run, maybe zoom in a little bit more. And you can see this thinking box kind of pop up into the center. You can see the model's thinking process as it's going through the visual stages. And again, this Nano Banana 2 Lite model is based on one of our lightest weight models. So you can see that it's added the text, it's added the kind of first image, in addition to a caption, the binding agents. It's kind of going through and keeping each part of the recipe included within its depiction. And then if I hover over the token consumption, you can see the total cost associated with doing that work and making that call. Nano Banana 2 Lite is significantly less expensive than some of our previous Nano Banana implementations, without as much of a degradation in quality. So you can see again, this is pretty nice when it comes to images. You can even see the individual like grains of sugar and flour, and it's quite nice to be able to experiment with this model for these use cases. So in addition to doing images and text interleaved, you can also do things like say create an image of a cat doing yoga on a pink mat in front of the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to go ahead and make the thinking a little bit higher again. Select images only. There's a cat, definitely in front of the Eiffel Tower. And then if I wanted to add sample media, so maybe there's a dog, add the dog to this image, also doing yoga, um, maybe up dog. And so you can see the dog here. If I downloaded the image and downloaded this one, started a new session and uploaded the two, and then said something like add the dog to the image with the cat in front of the Eiffel Tower. Again, thinking level to high. Yep, we should see the dog added to the same image, doing up dog, and then the cat also doing yoga. And again, the cost associated with doing this work is relatively minimal compared to previous implementations of Nano Banana. So it's I've been replatting all of my personal experiments to use Nano Banana 2 Lite, just because the quality that you get is good enough for most things. If you need really high resolution outputs, or if you need aspect ratios that don't fall into these domains, then you might want to kind of mix and match with other models. But for especially with starting with seed frames for Omni Flash, or just doing these very simplistic merges, Nano Banana 2 Lite is a great option. For Omni Flash, imagine the same experience, but able to do natural language edits to videos. So, as an example, this is one of the experiments that I did with one of the films that I took outside the DeepMind offices in San Francisco. You can see kind of the Bay Bridge outside the window, but it was able to keep the same consistency for the scene, just adding kind of an octopus in the bay, adding flying cars, or showing the same scene at nighttime with the same audio track behind it, just with the lights kind of on and flickering in the background, which is pretty wild. If I wanted to use as an example, this image with Omni Flash, what I could do is go back to AI Studio, select video, upload the file, and then say something like show the cat and the dog doing yoga actively. You can see the resolution, the frame rate, the high level thinking, or the video duration, mix and match for some of these. So I can bring down the video duration to around 5 seconds. You can see the task. So unspecified, text to video, image to video. You can also add references, or edit videos if you would like, if you have an input video. And then you hit run. It looks like there was an authentication error, which means that the key wasn't linked. But the good news is that if something goes wrong with AI Studio, you can also test out the same flow within Flow from Google. So as an example, if I upload the media, so the same image, it'll take some time to add. You can add it to your prompt, and then I can grab the same prompt that I was using. Obviously, the more verbose your prompt is, the better kind of experience that you're going to get from the video. And then I am going to go ahead and um, uh, So it looks like this isn't wanting to. It looks like this isn't wanting to work within the Flow platform, but at least not today. There it goes. It looks like for whatever reason the text hadn't registered within the UI. So if you run into a similar error, just sometimes it helps to refresh and to try again. Flow, if you haven't seen it before, is also a great place to experiment with things like characters, with scenes. If you create an avatar within Google's products, you can also use your own avatar to create different videos, different product ideas. And while this is working, I can even go back to Flow, try Omni again, and then say maybe add the avatar or a character, and experiment again. So you can see different voices off to the side. Um, it looks like if I pull this up, um, we should see the cat and the dog doing yoga. And again, this was just kind of started from that initial image that was created in Nano Banana 2 Lite and is very adorable. The variations, if you experiment with two at a time, are also quite nice. And it looks like they got a little bit tired. I would also be tired if I was attempting to do physical activity in the sun. Um, but these are just some of the things that you can do with the Nano Banana models and OmniFlash. I strongly recommend taking a look, trying some of these things out. And also, we should have 13 minutes left for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and we can go to the questions doc, um, and uh, and take a look there. Oh, interesting. So I see a few questions. Daniel Green asked, do you end up upscaling later with something like Topaz? This is a great question. One of the common workflows that I've seen with OmniFlash and then also with the Nano Banana Light images is you don't necessarily need something like Topaz. There are also a bunch of models, so things like SRGAN or ESRGAN, like some other kind of models that you can use that are relatively lighter weight and incorporate into your process. Um, you can also just use sort of regular regular libraries from the scientific computing ecosystem if you don't want to do a GAN, or apply a GAN to your first image. But you don't necessarily need to use another service. And the reason why upscaling would be useful for folks on the call is that I'm sure you saw for the Flow created video and for the OmniFlash created video, you start with kind of the first frame, which is higher resolution, and then by the time you get to the final frame, sometimes you might see a degradation in quality. If you upscale that final frame, you can use it as the seed frame for the next clip of video. And it usually ends up giving you much better results if you take the final frame, upscale it, and then use it as the seed frame for the next 8 seconds. For Nano Banana 2 Lite, if you also didn't want to just take the 1K resolution, you could upscale through those other approaches. Another question, when should a team choose OmniFlash over VO 3.1? Both output synchronized audio. Is the trade-off fidelity versus conversational edit? If you would like to edit videos, OmniFlash gives you that ability. It also has much better physics grounding. But for this, let me go ahead and I'll share a screen again from our friends over on the Google Cloud team. This is just kind of a slide that shows when you might choose the right video model. This is kind of the latest and the greatest. We expect that OmniFlash will be kind of the model in which all of our other models converge. But you can see the difference between VO 3.1 and 3.1 fast and 3.1 light, and then also the differences in capabilities between the different models. So as an example, with OmniFlash, you can use edits. With natural language, you can use frame anchoring, which is coming soon. And then for 3.1 fast and VO light, it's a little bit more simplistic. So you can add images, you can kind of add ingredients, you can do things like first and last frame edit anchoring, but the quality can sometimes be a little bit worse, especially with the fast and the light versions. And then also, it doesn't necessarily follow prompting guidelines as well as the OmniFlash model. Um, so I'm going to stop sharing that and move on to the next question. Dave Eastridge asked, what are some of the best practices for complicated multi-image plus video input omni generations? I would strongly, strongly recommend using features like ingredients to video. And I would also recommend being hyper specific with your prompting strategy, especially using Gemini to kind of create the prompts for you. It can often be really, really hard to understand, like what kind of prompt should you create, what should the formatting of it be. The Gemini models are actually pretty good at this. But if you do have images or specific products that you want to use to ground your video features, I would strongly, strongly recommend just giving those to Gemini and then asking what its prompt should be once you explain the desired outcome that you would like to see from the video. Um, there was a question, is there a max video duration per generation on VO 3.1 and Omni Flash? There definitely are max durations. I'm going to go over to the modeling docs, which you should be able to find at ai.google.dev. But for each one of these models, I'm pulling it up here. You can see the different constraints for each. So should it be 5 seconds, 6 seconds, etc. And then also if you're using AI Studio, it will also give you the correct kind of lengths of the videos that you're able to generate. So with Omni Flash, you should be able to generate up to 10 seconds. With VO 3.1, you can get 8-second long videos, but not quite 10 seconds. And then, are there content filter behaviors? Yes, there are definitely content filter behaviors. So as an example, if you're trying to generate a video um, for very, very well known public figures, that will probably get flagged. If you're trying to generate a video that's um, you know impacted by any of the safety constraints, you will probably get flagged. But that should be very clearly articulated in the error message, and if not, then you should post on the Discord and let us know, and we can help you debug. um, so there was a question around, for camera direction, which vocabulary does the model respond to best? We have some cookbooks as well for camera directions. Let me go ahead and show. Let me go ahead and show one that was created by one of our team members. Fofer, I also recommend just following Fofer in general, Fofer AI, to if you're curious about how to use Gemini Omni Flash. But the model card and also the kind of prompting guide should give you the ability to understand how to guide the direction of Omni. This is the one that I was referencing. It goes into great detail about shot framing and motion. So you can see this example, which is a wide angle tracking shot, glides gently across a serene lake, and then how it impacts the style. You can also see the different parts of the prompt that are impacted by each of these. Again, these prompts can be really, really hard to write yourself. Gemini is much better at writing them if you just give them a little bit direction. Um, you can also see some of the things like edits for the videos. So changing from a butterfly to a bee to multiple bees, editing how the camera works, changing the field of view and the angle, the point of view, the action. So this is some example. No. And then if you wanted to change the lights responding, and all you would have to do is prompt the lights of the apartments start turning on in sync with the music. And then also things like world understanding.
Qubits in superposition. Entanglement allows simultaneous processing. Classical computers.
Multiple languages are also supported by OmniFlash. So some of the most interesting use cases that I've seen are related to folks kind of dynamically swapping from one language to another. So as an example, let me see if I can find some of the experiments that I was doing just recently. But you can kind of swap between one language. Um, so as an example, if I pull up this tab, I was using a kind of a picture of me in front of one of our desks at Google DeepMind.
El álgebra lineal es súper útil. Imaginen que son solo vectores. ¿Suena complicado? Para nada. El álgebra
And so I can't speak Spanish, but you could have fooled me. And then if you ask again, so if I pull in this avatar, and instead of saying friendly conversational Spanish, say friendly conversational German. We should be able to generate a video fairly quickly. And then Daniel Green also asked, who are some of your favorite creators for inspiration? Really, I mentioned Fofer. I also really love just kind of lurking on the Reddit kind of subreddits for video generation to get inspired not just about OmniFlash, but also the kind of the broader field of models to see what's working and what's not, and what to try out with OmniFlash in our video editing models. And it looks like this is almost done, which would be right about on time. These are also the videos that I had mentioned before. So the one for nighttime, which was started by daytime footage of the Bay Bridge. And let's see if it was able to do German.
Lineare Algebra ist wirklich überall. Wir können damit Vektoren und Matrizen berechnen.
And so it was able to start for at least the beginning part. But I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And thank y'all. Thank you, Tina and team, for allowing us to come and talk about some of these models and their capabilities. And can't wait to see what people build.
Thank you so much, Paige. That was super helpful. And yeah, hopefully people are building really cool things and are inspired by the session you just gave. If anyone has any questions specifically for Paige or the Google DeepMind team, there is a DeepMind channel in the Discord, so you can field questions there. But happy building. The next session will be happening at 4 p.m. today, PST. So in 30 minutes, that'll be covering some of XAI's models. So feel free to tune into that if you're interested in learning more there. Otherwise, we are around. If you have any questions, ping us in the general chat or questions. And see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.